are picking up feedback, so I had to mute them.
Okay. You know where to report that?
I don't know. I'm just letting somebody who works here know, and we'll just give Earl a little clip on for the recording. Because I know how to work around the system.
Because we have an AV person.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. You tired?
We have an AV person. Get out of here, Mariah.
Who? We'll probably give people a couple more minutes and then we'll get started. So thanks everyone for coming to hang out. We should definitely take 15 minutes to talk about how the Pope weighed in on AI.
Yeah, I did see that. He was, what's the word? Ecumenical? I don't know.
That's a word.
I learned
don't know what that
I
means.
learned a new word for when the Pope says stuff.
Oh, okay.
Is that like them speaking officially or something?
Yeah, he came out and said we need to focus on the good of humanity over the progress of AI, basically.
Well, he didn't say AI was bad, but he did say that like
I mean, it was.
if you cannot use AI to have a positive benefit on people, there is no purpose in pursuing AI.
Yeah.
The model system.
There were several references to Anthropic in his announcement.
Really?
I
Yeah.
don't know if they were positive or negative. I just know that was there were a couple of name drops.
I think they worked with him on creating it.
My understanding was it was yes,
So
collaborative.
no, the announcement.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But-
It's like,
So.
wait, Dario was talking to the Pope.
Yes, but not for technical reasons. So I saw a bunch of people that were salty about it because it was like they were like, oh, this is just more Anthropic marketing.
I mean, it kind of is, kind of isn't.
Yeah. You know, fair enough.
If you can say that Anthropic really is doing something for the greater good of humanity, then it is. Come on in. We're just getting food and we'll get started in a few minutes, letting people come hang out.
Great.
We're talking about what the Pope thinks about AI.
The Pope?
Yeah, he released a statement
He did.
over the weekend about AI.
Uh-huh.
And it's great.
You have a chatbot.
Oh, I think it's great, but
Really cute buttons.
I guess.
I wonder if what's back in the internet was really good. There was this other announcement.
Was it?
The internet's only good if it's.
There's that article that
Like, you know,
I mean, I think it's all part of the same wave. And we take too much time to say AI is something new. I'm like, no, it's kind of building on the same thing. If we didn't have the internet, we didn't have the cloud, would we have AI?
Yeah, that's kind of like a prerequisite, the tech tree.
Mhm.
I saw that an hour or two after we were chatting about that.
I'll have to watch that.
It concerns me.
See who's talking.
Riley is your friend. Like when
The Pope's probably
Just
token
don't date
maxing, let's be
The
honest.
Pope is probably token maxing for sure.
Definitely.
Riley is
In Latin,
you can choose.
just to make sure.
Is that more efficient? Better token efficiency?
It's a good question. I think there are fewer words, so.
Maybe less clarity.
Mhm.
Call him Riley she. It's like that.
I think I've heard English is pretty good, like, as far as like, most of the, like, the most common
It's
ones.
really,
Pretty
it's really
efficient.
just a bunch of GPUs in a
Well,
tutorial.
they do their sub-processes in Chinese.
Zeros,
What
I guess
class?
there's probably some CPUs.
No, so, most of the frontier models will do background processes in Chinese.
Really?
Pretty good.
Because it's fewer tokens per character.
Yeah.
Like-
G6?
Whatever this is.
So if you
I
can
mean,
compress
I got one of them,
information
so.
into fewer characters,
Exactly. It's like a built-in compression algorithm.
it works. But nothing gets lost in the.
Well, things are. I don't think technically it's not a translation problem because they're not translating it back to
Sure.
English until the end.
But in terms of like information density per token, like.
Well, I mean, I think anytime you do a turn run agent, information is lost. So they're just taking that as we will have loss, so we might as
ready?
well make it efficient for our processes.
Emotionally, mentally, physically.
Someone's flies.
I should use wing names.
Did
I just did it not too
Did I tell you about that? I was in an interview for the PM job, and like multiple slides. He was like, "Oh yeah, this slide is wrong. I had AI generate it. Let me just correct that." And like said something that was completely different than what was on the slides, and I was like,
I did that once when I had a speaker drop out the same night of a meetup.
"Okay, but that's not an interview. That's like you jumping in to help out."
No, I agree. That's the one time where I can say, hey, the AI did this and this is why.
Yeah.
I worked all day. I generated this during my morning workout.
Nice.
It was very effective.
Except for the parts I got wrong. Maybe less effective there.
Well, not, there were only 15.
And I forget that the MLOPs meetup does not start until,
It starts whenever I say we start.
which is never 6:30.
No. But also it's officially summer, so like meetup attendance drops in the summer.
People are partying.
After Memorial Day.
Here we are. After Memorial.
What happened when Jay spoke last week? We had about the same turnout. Great talk, but it was just like, I guess it's summer.
What was your talk on?
Different data formats. How to get the most out of them.
How to most effectively compress your encodings. That was what I learned.
Nice.
Was it recorded?
It's on the Ford Utah YouTube channel. That's a little bit easier to go. You're ready to get started whenever.
Whenever you like.
Are we platinum YouTube channel yet?
Are we a platinum YouTube channel? What is a platinum
forward
YouTube
slash?
channel?
Don't they give you like plaques if you get enough subscribers?
We have 1,000 subscribers. That's not like,
Nice.
okay,
It's maybe copper level.
copper level.
Copper 10 alloy.
Thanks everybody for coming. That sounds not as exciting, but there are some people we have regulars and new people, so it's still a great meetup. We're glad Earl could speak. We want to thank Weave for providing food and the building. We really appreciate that. They're always willing to help out with the community. If it's your first time here, we have a Slack group. You can go to our website, which is fordutah.tech. That's the website for all of our meetups. And then just right in the middle, there's a button that says join Slack, and you click that, and then
It's where all the fun stuff happens.
we chat offline. We have a job board. It's a pretty cool thing. We get every time a model's released, you know about that. I've been using it most recently for security incidents. Whenever there is an NPM security leak, I find out about it first from Slack, and then I tell my job, and they're like, oh, we should look at that. So,
Save the company.
we have a local events channel where a lot of people post their meetups that are happening. Jay has a meetup on Thursday at School AI. It's AI-driven development. And your speaker is former OpenAI, you said?
Yes.
So,
About feedback is, I think it's feedback is the key, or something like that. It's using feedback loops and AI driven development.
This is next week?
it's this Thursday.
This Thursday.
Will that be recorded?
I hope so. When you figure that out, I'm sure it'll be pretty well.
What's the Wi-Fi? Can you get on the Weave guest?
Yeah, it's Weave Guest, and then the password is care space more, all lowercase.
So again, Care?
Cares, and then a space, and then more.
I assume we can post our videos on the Ford Utah.
You are more than welcome to. Just reach out to me. And I was going to at some point message you and say, yes, you're more than welcome to use our YouTube channel. But yeah, I'm happy to provide that service. Very easy. I think that's all I have. If you're ready to go, here's your mic. You can just, it's just like a little lapel clipper thingy.
I have one of those.
Oh, good. Everyone, let's give Earl a round of applause.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. My name's Earl Cahil. I work here at Weave. I'm a principal engineer. I get to work with Brandon Atkinson. How cool is that, huh? Pretty cool. We at Weave, we're working on, this is public knowledge, a chatbot, an AI receptionist so that you can call the dental office and schedule an appointment or ask questions about pricing or anything that they have in their knowledge base, really. And so about last Halloween, and I thought, I just want to have a chatbot. Everybody's doing it. Feels like all the cool kids have a chatbot. Really, my goal was I want to be able to call over the phone and be tied into Python code and then be able to respond. Because as soon as you hit Python, then world's your oyster, right? Like, you got LLMs, you got the whole Python ecosystem, you can generate audio, you can do it all. And so, I don't know if you guys heard of this AI stuff that's going around, like it's pretty good. So I thought maybe AI could help me, and this was even back in, old school days where, we weren't to like the crazy new cloud models, but within a few days, and I had something up and running where I could call, it would get routed to my Python code, I could tie into an LLM, and I could respond. And I was like, that's pretty cool. And then, it just kept going from there. So this is not associated in any way with Weave. This is all my code. This is riley.chat. My goal, really, for riley.chat is to have a personal AI companion, can remember stuff, it's going to learn from your natural conversations. So for me, the whole vision of it is I want to have a bot that will call me as I'm driving home from work, and I just talk about my day, I talk about what's going on, and it records pretty much everything that I've got. Or I can call it, same thing, I can just talk about whatever. But then it stores it, and as we'll see, it's going to take kind of the arbitrary natural conversation and change that into strongly typed events. So if me and Brandon and Casey go to lunch, which we've actually done before, then that night, then I can say, hey, I went to lunch with Brandon Atkinson and Casey Mao. We went to Hamachi Sushi and got the black cod. Here's what we talked about. And then the next time, I'm going to see, okay, I see these guys most every day. If a month later we were going to go out again, then I could say, hey, tell me what I talked about last time I saw Brandon and Casey. And then Riley would have it there. So I wanted to be able to support a few things. I wanted to be able to call using Twilio, but I also wanted to be able to, so Twilio is just like over normal phone lines. I wanted to use WebRTC. So WebRTC is like a phone call, but it's done in the browser. And I wanted to work on mobile. So wanted to remember things that you're doing. I wanted to be able to schedule calls. So call me every day at 6:30, Speaking of which, I probably have a missed call because I put my phone on silent. Riley calls me when all is going well every day at 6:30. That uses EventBridge, EventBridge on Amazon, just AWS. It's a way for doing scheduled events, being able to do crons. I really like this notion of setting goals, like, hey, I want to read 12 books this year. And then telling Riley that that's what your goal is, and then whenever you read a book, then, during your daily call, then you could just report, hey, I finished reading Project Hail Mary or whatever, and then it goes in the list. And then you'd be able to see how you're doing against such things. I really like how hopefully it's still working like this, where you don't even need to tell it that you're reporting on a goal, but you can just say, I read this book, and then it's smart enough to say, oh, Earl has a goal to read books, so I'm going to apply that to that. Or I went and walked, I set a goal, probably not going to hit it, to walk 500 miles this year. Oh, Earl said that he walked miles. Look, there's a goal there. Let me adjust it. So really the goal is to just be as natural as possible, just like I would talk to Brandon and say what I was doing. I'm not speaking like computer speak. I'm talking as humans speak one to another. But then the beauty is that, again, it has these strongly typed things. You can apply a score to anything. So our lunch at Amachi Sushi was a 5, and then it will just record that. But again, that now becomes a strongly typed thing. So in the database, then it does all the relations and it gives a 5 to that lunch. But then you can graph that over time. Yeah, like I say, multi-platform going across everything. So there's a bunch of tools. A lot of the work has been trying to find a good text-to-speech engine, just to be able to settle on that, get everything recorded, and then really one of the main things I would want people to walk away from is using test in your AI development and how that can help aid things. So here's an architectural overview. Again, we have 3 ways to get in: over the web, through a native app, or over Twilio. It's going to hit Fast API. So I am hosting part of this on this machine that I call Bam Bam. You got Bedrock at Amazon, and so I've got Bam Bam. This, it's not that big of a box now that things have got bigger. It's got 16 gigs of VRAM and a bunch of regular RAM. And on there, then I run Docker services locally for speech to text. So I'm going to talk about it more, but Nemotron, it's a competitor to say WhisperX. It's a way for it to transcribe the speech. I think it's faster and more accurate in my very limited testing and according to what NVIDIA says. So that's where it runs. And then, using good old, when I first gave, the first time I gave this talk was at this AWS meetup, so I do call out that I'm using quite a bit of AWS stuff, including Strands, the Strands agent framework. So that's another thing that I'd like people to be able to take away, just how cool and easy Strands is to use, even though I don't think anybody here is from AWS, but I still think it's legitimately cool. I'm using Bedrock and using specifically Haiku 4.5. I will talk in a minute about how come I've landed on that, how come I've got that. Use EventBridge for those scheduled calls, and then using Postgres up to 36 tables to be able to track all of this stuff. So why Strands? The big thing is AWS is very actively developing it pretty much every week, maybe every 2 weeks, and they do a new release that has some pretty non-trivial code in it. They are doing real stuff. It's tightly, it's nice. It is not tightly, it is nicely integrated with Bedrock. You can easily use the models for there. And yeah, you can do some prompt caching. I'll talk about it later, but you're able to take the context that you want cached, that you want to use repeatedly, and you get a 90% cost reduction on those tokens. The coolest part probably is just how easy it is to make tools. So that's great. It's got some nice options for session persistence, for how you're going to remember things. It's got nice support for streaming, so things can come in. Really, a lot of the game for like Riley when doing text and doing phone calls, it just got to feel natural. As soon as once you hit 4 or 5 seconds, then it starts to feel like it just takes you out of your natural rhythm. So that's why I spent extra time to get Nemotron working, because even that shaves off a couple hundred milliseconds from WhisperX. So that makes a big difference. It's easy to hook into different things. You can use, as I'll talk about in a minute, it makes it easy to swap out a Bedrock model, a Gemini model, and a Ollama model. Another thing that's cool is as you're talking and as your conversation history grows, then you can pretty easily say, hey, at these levels, and I just want to be able to compact that history. And so you can, it's not quite, infinite scroll with your conversation, but you can continually just fold things back into it without infinitely growing your context. So it makes it nice. This is just how you instantiate a Bedrock model. So yeah, there's Haiku 4.5. And yeah, we want to do normal caching. And then this is us getting all the tools. I'll talk about that more in just a minute. And then we instantiate an agent. We point to what that model was. We have a system prompt that that's custom Riley code. And then there's our tools. So that's pretty much, that's like the boilerplate stuff, is like, here's what it takes to get up and running using strands. And then really it comes down to what tools do I want to be able to write in Python. So here's an example. There's really just 3 parts. You need a tool annotation. And then, you have what arguments get passed in, and then you return a string. Now, you can also change it so that you can do different signatures, so you can return different things. But if you can just stick to this model, then you're pretty good. If you can just do it this way, then you're fine. So here's us creating a goal, and then strands will generate this structure like that. It screwed up the spacing, oh well. To be able to talk to the LLM and do that in a good way. So LLM sees the schema, decides when to call the tool, pulls out the right parameters. I never do any routing logic at all. Like at no point do I say, hey, for goals, then we're going to go over here. Just based on, probably the name of the function, the arguments, and then you have this doc string that helps define that. And all of that just becomes context for the LLM. So a message comes in, we get the request prepared, we go to strands, and then it figures out, hey, this is what here's what we're gonna call. Eventually it's gonna go to Bedrock, figure out, hey, do we need a tool? If we do, then it will execute that, and it could walk this flow several times. It could call multiple tools on the same call. And then we get the response back and it streams it back. So again, nice discount for being able to pull from cache. And Haiku, for me, bang for buck especially, I'd say bang for buck, accuracy, and speed. Like Haiku still was the king when I tested just a couple weeks ago. This is a bit of that caching strategy that I was talking about. It can get pretty big. So the goal is that you have all of the tools and you have your system instructions. That's going to be the same every time. So we want to put that into context and we want to cache that, and we got a 90% savings on the tokens. Okay, so now I call and I say, hey, could you give me words of affirmation? Which, funny enough, is actually a pretty, it works for me. Maybe I'm a weirdo, but, and then that's fresh. So that we can't cache because we don't know what the user's going to ask. So it does a nice job of separating those two things. So what we can put into context cache, we put it there, and then the fresh stuff, we just kind of put that on top, and there you go. We've done it for less money, and it should be faster, and there should be fewer hallucinations, would be the hope. So yeah, based on these different thresholds, then it will trigger how the compaction happens. And there's a balance between how much we keep in memory, what are the odds of what the user's going to talk about, and so you have to keep a balance for those different things. And you can see what happens here is as you're talking, then you'll hit one of these thresholds, and then it will compact it, and then you keep going, and then it would do that just indefinitely. So, and it would hopefully favor the most recent stuff. So these are examples of the tools that I've got. Yeah, I mentioned goals and scores. Brandon and Casey would both be strongly typed people. Hamachi Sushi, that would be a strongly typed place. You can do journal entries, you can set notes. It's kind of a, I don't know, sentence diagramming wannabe thing where, you have actions and people and direct objects, and so that gets normalized out into the database. There's 22 different ways you can choose for it to greet you, like if you want to play 20 questions or get words of affirmation or get a fun fact, or there's lots of different ways that it can greet you. You have to keep track of what voice it's going to use and user preferences. Though one thing that I think is cool is it will, Riley can respond in a chart. So if you give, hey, how's my work? And you give that a score day after day, then over time, then you can graph that. And you can ask it, there's a web interface, like I mentioned, and it will bring up a chart for this arbitrary thing that you picked. How's your relationship with your wife? Maybe don't put that somewhere that can be retrieved, I don't know. How did I like all of these movies? Whatever, any score that you want. But the beauty is once it's strongly typed, then you can have tools that go against that interface, and then you can do graphical things for it. Again, we've gone from being just very conversational to a graph showing what the scores are over time. So, yeah, here are examples of some of the different tools. We're going to look, so here's an example for goals. I ran 3 miles with Jake at Central Park this morning, so it's going to parse out, it's going to walk through all these different tools. Yeah, we have an action, we have a person, we're going to link the running and the miles, we're going to link that to Central Park. It's going to figure out that that's a goal, and it's going to log that progress and respond and say, hey, I logged your chat. So again, part of the beauty of strands is we didn't have to do any of that glue. All we had were the different tools that each did their own very specific thing, and then strands and the LLM really, Haiku is what glues that all together, figures out what the tools are that should be called, does all the appropriate actions. So they say one thing, and then we get 7 tools, and we get this nice contextual response back. So, can't believe the spacing's messed up, but anyway. Again, here's an example of a tool. Nice and simple. So I use, this repository pattern. So we're just, we receive information about the goal. We just use the repository to insert that into Postgres. And then we say, hey, this got created. And then goal insights, that's going to be another repository call. We get the information coming in. We're going to use that information that comes in to be able to construct a good database query, and then we can figure out whether or not they're on track or they're not.
And that's to the Postgres database?
That's Postgres. And I use Peewee. Do you guys know Peewee? It's ORM. I'm a big fan. What's that?
Pee-wee Herman?
I don't know what it's named after. It makes it really nice. If you use something like Peewee, then you could, if you wanted, in theory, but nobody really ever does it, switch database backends. If you want to go to MySQL or Oracle or SQLite or something, then in theory you should not have to change your models if you're calling their functions. I like Peewee a lot. I use Peewee and I use DBMate. You guys know DBMate? It's kind of like Liquibase or Goose. Just a pretty simple way you write these migration scripts, and then it will create your tables or make new columns or add new indexes or whatever. And you just run it whenever you bring the server up. So it makes it really nice. For Riley, I have a dev server. There's a dev instance and a prod instance. And so just whenever I start them, then these migrations run, and it idempotently does whatever it needs to, knows what it's ran before. So another example, we're going to log the daily score. So yeah, there's this update score method that is going to, again, wrap those repository and Postgres calls. And then you get trends. So the beauty is, it's like you're not AI programming, you're just Python programming. Like if you know Python and you know how to query a database, cool, put that in your tool, and then Strands will be able to wrap that, and away you go.
And that score was for ranking for recall to say how important this is to remember. What was the score for?
Score is how you felt about that thing.
How you felt about it. So it's doing sense.
I went to lunch with Casey and Brandon, and I give it a 5.
Doing it. Okay.
I saw that movie, and I give it a 2.
Yelp for your life, basically.
Yelp for your life. Hey, there you go. That's a good way to think of it. So this is kind of that model I was talking about where we're going to parse out. So this was, I had lunch with Sarah at Mario's. She paid $25, and the mood is a 5. So it pretty nicely parses out the person, the place, the direct object, how much it cost, how long it took, and what the score was. And then, the LLM's doing the hard part. Once it has that information, then it can pass it to the individual tool calls. Again, those are not that hard. Now you're just doing Python. So yeah, you can see how the LLM calls are going. Same thing with journal. Again, after a while, then they look much the same. Just writing simple tools. This is what the pipeline looks like. So when people call, then have people used Twilio before? It's pretty nice. It really is like.
I was going to use it, and then their API costs money, and I don't want to pay anybody money, so I didn't use it.
Yeah, it costs a crazy amount. Like.
Don't talk about my hypocrisy.
What is the subscription model on this costing per month or per year?
I'm off by a little, but if you're not using it much, 0. So it costs, like for $10, you can get, like a phone number costs $1 a month, maybe $1.15. And then it's.
They give you like $15 free when you join too, right?
You get a credit, and it's maybe like 50 cents an hour incoming and maybe 80 cents an hour outgoing. So you can do a lot of damage for 10 or 20 bucks if you just want to get your feet wet and get started. It is, I was at least partly inspired to do WebRTC to avoid those charges, because then it just would be VoIP and just over the internet, and it's just bandwidth cost. But it really is, if you're a programmer person, it's like a one-night thing to make it to where you can call and it will hit your code. Really, all you do is register an endpoint. So you need to have some publicly routable spot. I think it's not too hard to do it with like a Lambda on AWS, where you can call it into there. So yeah, it's going to come in, and we're going to. So once we get here, so Twilio will just route, just using good old DNS, and get to my server, good old bam bam. And then right now, I'd say the majority of times people are doing this, then it's this pattern where we're going to do speech to text. So that's where I'm using Nemotron. So it's going to transcribe the incoming audio and make that into text. And then I need to, Strands is going to tie into that. And then I'm going to hit a text-to-speech engine, and it generates this moolah, which kind of sounds like money, like moolah. That's the name of the format that Twilio uses. It's like 8K. That's the bit rate. So it's very small, but it actually works quite well, and that way it can be quite fast. So.
They compress it. Do you also have to use a Twilio to decompress it? Are you using FFmpeg?
Am I using what?
How do you read that? Then you're not doing anything with that file.
Straight on through to Twilio.
Don't do anything with it.
Don't do anything with that.
Okay, that was my question. I just didn't ask it in those words.
They are pretty picky. If it's not that format, it just won't work. So, and the text-to-speech stuff generally is not gonna use that format. So the way I've done it is I have my own personal Docker images. So I don't know how much people have played with it. My hot tip for the night is Kokoro is king, Kokoro. I do have a Docker image that wraps the Kokoro service. It's fast, it's very fast. The quality is quite good. There's another one called Voxtrawl, which the quality is better, and it's too slow for real-time interaction. I tried it for a while, and it just, and you also, maybe if I had a bigger box where I could chunk things up and then I could stream it in parallel, but as it was, I could do one stream at a time, otherwise it would like crash. So Kokoro, if you're like, hey, I want to play around with text-to-speech, just start there. Like I tried, I think one of these slides shows like the 8 or 10 different text-to-speech guys that I've tried. Kokoro was just the king. So,
Does it do both ways or just text-to-speech?
just text-to-speech. So yeah, I use Nemotron for speech-to-text, and then Kokoro, and for other things I use Voxtrawl for the, did I say it wrong? Speech-to-text, Nemotron, text-to-speech, Kokoro, or Voxtrawl. All of those are open source. You need GPU, so it's not super easy to, they're not totally light, but they're pretty small. Kokoro you can run off CPU and it does okay, but it does better on GPU.
It's going to be a silly question, but at the text-to-speech phase, you're not passing through any sentiment or tone of voice, all that gets stripped away at that phase, correct?
Yeah, there are some models where you can do some of that. The way Voxtrawl works, for example, they have different voices that have different personalities. Like one is excited, which that's what I was using. It was kind of annoying, but kind of fun. Like she would be over the top, like, Earl, so good to talk to you.
I mean more like you're rather than maybe rating something like, oh yeah, it was great, and this just from tone of voice that would be encoded in everything downstream, right?
Yeah, it's just text, yeah.
Would that be something that just wouldn't be worth it? That's not possible. The models aren't good enough, or
I don't know.
heavy?
That would be a little bit too subjective, I would think. But I don't know. Maybe there's models that rank. Yeah. How did Earl sound about this? Was he excited about it? You know. But it's also not that hard to say. I give it a 5. So that's what I've done. It's an interesting thought. It is all non-deterministic and iffy. You know. So the more you can add determinism and less if, anyway. So, yeah, there's a lot that goes on to be able to make this work. But, once you get it, then it makes it not too bad to iterate. Here's the examples, So, yeah, Kokoro does this PCM16, and then in my Docker image on the way out, then that's where it converts to the 8 kilohertz. Again, there's that moolah. I've tried really hard to just speed things up wherever I can. The greeting, which, when do I get done, Mariah?
Whenever you want to get done,
45 to
we've been at 40, we're at 42 minutes, so whenever you want to.
You have to talk for another hour.
We're not bored yet, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I'll try and do a demo. I'll roll the dice,
You got 10, 15 minutes-ish.
Okay. And then WebRTC is just like Twilio. The goal was that once you hit, that's pretty hard to read. Once you hit a certain point, then Twilio and WebRTC would look the exact same for the code. So you handle getting the text, it sends it along. It's the same for both Twilio and for WebRTC. So that's been the goal I probably could have held off on WebRTC, like, because Twilio, like I said, is not costing that much money. But eventually, Twilio would be an expensive part. But what's the most expensive part, do you think?
The LLM calls.
Not Twilio.
LLM, yeah. So it's pretty expensive. So you can say, like I could call Riley and say, call me back in 1 minute. And what that does is that creates an event on AWS EventBridge, and then that does an outgoing call, but it ends up kind of down the same path so that I receive the call. It gets a message and then calls out to me, but then once that connection's made, then everything else works just the same. So EventBridge was really nice. You can do cron syntax, so people can say crazy things like, hey, I want you to call me Mondays at 3 and Tuesday through Thursday at 4 a.m. and not at all on Friday, and then it will translate that to a cron string, and then that's what gets sent to EventBridge. So it works pretty great. So tried really hard to make it so that when you pick up the phone, then it's just ready to go. Like as soon as you pick up, then it's talking, sub-second. And the way to do that is to do the LLM calls and cache the audio while the phone's ringing. So again, seconds matter, milliseconds matter. These are the 10 plus TTS, text-to-speech engines that I've tried. They all had their own pluses and minuses. This, I don't have Voxtral on here. Voxtral was the best quality. OpenAI is not free, and I'd say they're, and I thought this is what you were asking to begin with, like just how conversational the tone is, and do you need to say, hey, be excited when you say this word or whatever.
Yeah.
And there are text-to-speech engines where you can do that, and you use SSML. It's a markup language so that you can mark up phrases so that they're different. I have found that OpenAI just is almost perfect. Like on another side project called Athena Reads, then it will generate audio, it will read a book to you, and it reads better than I do. I would argue probably better than any human does, but like it's natural and it's flowing. Voxtral is almost there. There's a couple of kind of weird things that it does. And then I'd say Kokoro is pretty close to Voxtral, but it's just not quite as good, but it's much faster. So yeah, I set up Docker images for each one of these, and then just had my code so that in config, then I could say, hey, point it to Piper or whatever, and then I could try things out. What I would suggest to folks is you can, I just would deal with friends, say, hey, here are the 5 voices, tell me who you like the best, and male and female, and it really did converge on Kokoro, and then I think Voxtral's even better. There's many. This is another example of something that's super easy to get going, which is DeepGram for speech to text. It's really cheap, and they give you a credit for the first year where you can transcribe 200 hours of stuff. So that's pretty good for free. And it's seriously, once there's a little bit of friction, but once I got it, then it's like, oh, this is like a few lines of code, For these other ones, for Nemotron and for Whisper, then I, again, just did a Docker image that kind of has a little bit of glue so that it works with my code.
Did you end up looking at 11 Labs at all? I think there would be another cloud provider that would pay for, but
Yeah.
maybe some voice, like text-to-speech as well, I believe.
I would say they're the king. I'd say they're the best. And that crown costs money because it's very expensive. Like, I don't know. Do you guys know how much it costs? We've looked at it for, I don't know, Casey, I don't know, We've all done text-to-speech, right? Like, 11 labs would not make sense for me to do this.
Just at the scale.
Just at the, if it ever took off.
Every day, depending on traffic, probably not.
And my hope is that, like, even if I just had 1 million users paying me $20 a month, like, even that would be a good start, And that would be a lot of 11 labs money, but if I had that many users, maybe I could work it out. It's tempting to have it for Athena Reads where it's reading books. It's almost tempting to bite the bullet and just pay for 11 labs, but it really is not cheap. It costs a lot. I'm sure y'all can see that. There's the tables. So yeah, this is what I was talking about. I've taken the email, I just denormalize it, put in all the tables, cascade the deletes, have some JSON fields to be able to store arbitrary data, but my goal is, as much as possible, to be strongly typed, just to have less guesswork. So here's a full text stack. I think most of this we've talked about. Good old Python. One cool thing that I did is this was running on Flask. And the way that WebRTC worked with the threading and concurrency and everything, then Flask just wasn't good enough. So I wanted to switch to Fast API. And there's a guy that he's working with me on this, David. And David was trying to convince me, hey, we need to go to Fast API. And I was like, man, that's going to be a ton of work. So guess what I did? Have you tried this AI stuff? Like, it's pretty good. So I just prompted it, and it took probably 3 or 4 hours and several rounds. But by the time I went to bed that night, then I could call Riley, and it could call me. It's amazing. And I did a diff, and I think there was a backup or two that it did just because it was such a fundamental change. How big was the diff? Does anybody have a guess?
5,000.
200 lines.
200 lines. 20,000 lines it did for me. So times 100. So yeah, I don't know. Does anybody have any questions over any specific tech that I'm using? Lots of it's probably familiar. My other hot tip is if you're using anything besides UV for like package management in Python, remember this day where you changed and started using UV and your life just got better.
So I would love to hear your perspective, because you're using AWS. AWS costs money, sadly, someone else's servers. But you also said you use BamBam, your local server. Could you speak to the reliability you get for AWS versus cost, and how do you choose where you put workloads?
Yeah, it's a good question. Let me be 100% transparent. Running stuff on BamBam sucks. It's a Windows machine. I also do video editing, so I bought it to edit video. You ever use WSL, like the Windows system Linux?
Nuked it and installed Ubuntu.
It is just a crapshoot, honestly. All the time, I'll be doing a demo. It's I guess the box got tired of being on. And the box will either die. It doesn't reboot. I show up and I'm like, hey, the lights are on, but nobody's home. So where'd you go? Or WSL will just crash. So I got it nicely, that app boot, then it starts all of these services. It brings them up in WSL. The world is good, and then a week later, just the way it goes. The reason I use BamBam, why do I use BamBam, do you think? What's the number one factor? 3 letters. Starts with G and rhymes with CPU, kind of. GPU, yeah. So GPU, it feels like to run any GPU, to get 16 gigs of GPU at Amazon 24/7 is thousands of dollars a year, It's crazy expensive, and I've shopped around. I have not found anything better, and that's even with a 3 reserved instance. So like Athena reads, and I have this other project called Chessert. It's like chess plus dessert. I do whatever I can to run those at Amazon. Chessert is fully on Amazon. And Athena reads, there's some GPU stuff that it needs to do, and so that runs on Bam Bam, consumes SQS, and it is the #1 most flaky part of the whole system. So
Casey might have some GPUs he bought that he can.
there you go.
donate to your cause.
Here's the AWS stuff. Here's good old Docker. Yeah, so you can just see my machine cannot run all of these at once, especially with Voxtral, which is not on here. Everybody just gets their own port, and then in my config, in my .m file, then I just say, hey, this is the speech to text, this is the text to speech service that I'm going to use, and then it maps it over to the right spot. So Docker's your friend. You know, here's my other hot tip for you. If you're using AI to generate, Docker files for you, make sure that they're pinned to a version. So recently, then, good old Bam Bam, ran out of some partition, and so Docker, wouldn't start, wouldn't restart. So I was like, well, I can just blow away all the images, and then I'll just rebuild them. Well, I couldn't, because they were, pinned to latest, and so things had changed, and it took me, 3 or 4 nights to get things working again. So this is, I'm doing more and more pre-commit hooks. It's pretty nice just to be able to check things. When I run test, then it's going to do a fresh database run, and it's going to run all of these tests. I think I have examples. Let's see, screenshot placeholder. Let's see, I'm about out of time. I lost my slides. Hang on just 1 second, let me see. Say that again?
AI didn't think you needed it.
That's right.
Right?
How cool is AI? Huh? One of the real takeaways that I want folks to have, maybe, is that, you can do AI for stuff, but really, you need to have tests. So,
Agreed. I give you a rubber stamp of approval on that one.
Do you write the test first, or have AI write the tests first?
yeah, so it's kind of in that same prompt path. You should be able to get it to where okay, well, they're not there either. Okay, so what I have are these tests where you say, this is the prompt, and these are the outcomes. So where the outcomes are, this is what should end up in the database. So I went to lunch with Brandon and Casey at Hamachi Sushi in Lehigh. There should be Casey and Brandon as people. There should be Hamachi Sushi as a place in Lehigh. I gave it a 5. That should show up as a score. So I think it's a lot of how we do it here at work. You can't parse. It's just too hard. You can't say, this is what the LLM said, and so it did the right thing. It's, for this project at work, trying to do end-to-end test, and it's just slightly different all the time, and I have done regexes for perhaps longer than somebody in here's been alive. It's not regexable, it's just intractable. And you can't even, and you don't really care what the bot says in some ways. You care that the right stuff made it into the database. So that's how I've done it, is I have these 800 tests. And what that allowed me to do was, then I could can't believe these slides are gone, but I guess I can. What it allowed me to do is then I could just, in a single prompt in Copilot, say, hey, I want you to check, I want you to run the test against Haiku, against a Gemini model, and against some OpenAI model. And maybe local against a llama, I can't remember. And I want you to just generate a table that tells me what passed and how much money it cost. And so then, because I had those tests that were very deterministic, you say this, does the right thing end up in the database? Then it could run it. Haiku passed 100% of the test. And then the other ones were like 40 or 50%. It's like, oh, wow. And Haiku, it costs more than some, but I mean, if Riley doesn't give good results, then all is lost. So paying a little bit more was worth it for that. And it's just how you got to do it. It's just way too you don't want stochastic code going on. You want determinism. You want to be able to make changes and say, hey, is it still all good? So should we try it?
Let's see it. Let's do it.
Now, what's the name Riley? Where did you come up with that?
So my goals were, my criteria was, wanted to be androgynous. So it could be, is Riley a guy name or a girl name?
Unisex. So it could be a guy or a girl name.
When I say it, it's funny, I've talked to people and it's about split. If people have seen In and Out, or not In and Out, Inside Out, Riley's a girl. One of my good friends, his son is named Riley. He's a boy. So for me, well, he's a man now, but so yeah. So that was a goal. And then I wanted the name .chat to be available. And so for the first time ever, and I don't know, I liked Riley. It's you can't really spell it wrong, like reasonably. And then I sent out a survey to some friends. Brandon and Casey probably took it, tell me what they liked the best. And for the first time ever, I paid money. I bought it off auction, like riley.chat. I think it cost me $200 with all the fees and everything. But I thought it was a good name.
What was the most expensive part of this whole side project?
Well, I mean, really the most expensive part is I convinced this principal engineer to work on it quite a bit, and he's doing it for equity. Like, it's crazy. So it's me, but otherwise that would clearly be the most expensive. Okay, let's see.
Your PIN is verified. This is Riley. How can I help
You guys hear that
today,
at all?
Earl?
Yep.
Hey, Riley, could you give me some words of affirmation, please? Well, maybe not. Riley, are you there? Well, this worked right before. It's always the demo. One thing I do want to talk about that I think is pretty cool, this will be the last thing I talk about, is you notice when I called, then it beeped. So you guys can go sign up for Riley. It may or may not work, I guess. If you associate your phone number with it and you're on the phone, then it will download a contact card that has a phone number, and then it pauses, and then it does your PIN. So you have a PIN, because as you know, you can spoof phone numbers pretty easy. But the beauty is, then you wouldn't hardly even know that you had a PIN. It just would, it just works. It just dials the PIN when you call it, and patent pending. So we'll see if I get a patent on that. So I'm happy to stick around. I probably might. One of us has to stick around for a while anyway. So there's more pizza. Anybody have other questions?
So you gave an example of you went running with a friend in Central Park, and I saw on there it had a look up to verify the place. What if it couldn't find it for whatever reason? You didn't pronounce it correctly or clearly or something, or there's too many of those. Multiple cities might have Central Park. Does it figure out like, wait a minute, you're in Chicago, Central Park's in New York? I mean, does it have dialogue with you to clarify those kind of things? And did you program that?
So it tries its best. So in the best of case, then yeah, you'd see Linden Steak Center. I don't know if anybody else thinks that's funny, but there you go. When everything works well, like if you give it, this is the goal, is that you give it enough detail that it gets, you can see that, right? Oh, you can't see that.
It stopped to share.
Okay, well, there you go. So if you could see it, I can show you afterwards if you want. There's a place service that it uses. So if you say original pancake house in Lehigh, then it uses that service, and if it finds it, then it records latitude and longitude. If it doesn't find it, then it used to be better at it. I don't know, it seems to have degraded. Maybe the models have changed or something. Then it should ask you. The goal is that it gets to be as specific as possible. But then I've made it so that there is UI around all of this, and you can go in and you can make changes. You can also merge things. So if it has Brandon Atkinson and it spells it S-E-N and S-O-N in two different ways, then you can say, oh, they're both the same people, and then you can merge it and it will go update all the tables. Same thing with places. Speech is hard, you know. You say things and it's just off a little bit, and it doesn't have context. It doesn't know what a steak center is. Of course, that's where you'd have steak, you know, except maybe in Utah, so.
So it's catching those mistakes. Is that at the text-to-speech layer, the Nemotron layer, or is that at the LLM layer where it's going, oh, given the context, what he said, he probably means this.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not a specific place, maybe it's just a word that went in incorrectly in the wrong spot.
Yeah, so that would all be at the LLM level, and that'd be at the tool level, trying to help it correct itself. Nemotron is basically going to be just byte for byte, character for character, what it heard as best as possible. So then the tools around it is where it would have to clean that up.
I was just making a comment along these lines in terms of like when tuning things like this, I've definitely seen it where it goes above and beyond, and it kind of becomes unnatural when it's like, and you ask like, oh, I went to so and so, I went with Bob, and it's like, oh, Bob who? Like, you mean this Bob? And I'm like, actually, I meant this one, and then it like, oh, you know, where did you meet Bob? And it like tries to get all this information about an entity, and it can become like, hey, quit asking about Bob. It's just telling you about lunch.
Yeah, one of the features that I think will be cool is you can tell Riley, kind of to Casey's point, how much to follow up on goals. So you don't want, you don't want to be like a nagging wife, you know, where every day you come home and it's like, hey, did you mow the lawn? Did you mow the lawn? Did you mow the lawn? Hey, did you walk a mile today? Did you walk a mile? And so it's, or a nagging roommate or whatever, not to speak out against wives, but the way Riley is you can configure it and say, hey, I want to walk 500 miles this year, and follow up with me every other week. And so then it should like splay it out so that it doesn't become annoying, you know. Because yeah, if you just wanted to feel like your best friend, you know. How would your best friend talk with you? And it wouldn't be every time, hey, what's up with that? Did you do that thing? So I don't know. It's all hard. And I've been working more on Athena reads lately than Riley, so it's not in as good of a spot as it once was. So, but hopefully it'll get back there.
I mean, as long as the Windows machine's on, right?
So long as Bam Bam is breathing life, we got a shot. I don't know why it didn't just answer. Like it seriously worked an hour ago. So.
Is there a world where you find it useful to have it connected to your life in deeper ways, like looking at your calendar, looking at your, you know, the extreme case, it would be like connected to every service you use and know about your conversation. Like, where does it get creepy, I guess?
It's probably up to each person, you know? Yeah, because yeah, I've pondered, do I tie it into my calendar and then say at the end of the day, hey, I'm going to ask about, your one-on-one with your boss, or I'm going to, or one thing, had I whirled enough in time, then I would have this working already. If this and that, I think it would be really cool to say, hey, I want you to call me whenever I leave work. Because sometimes I don't, tonight I'm not leaving at 6:30. So I think it would be cool to tie into health stuff, so it just knows how much you walked. Some of the things, or your Kindle Reader or Audible or whatever, and just kind of coalesce all of that into Riley data. I think, would the day ever come where you just leave your mic on all day and it records everything you say? Maybe that's past the line, but I just really like that notion of it's going to remember for me what I want to remember. And this may creep people out, but Riley's pretty good at giving advice, it has told me things and I'm like, oh, and I don't know, maybe almost because it's a bot and it has no dog in the race, it doesn't care. It's just really trying to say the right thing or whatever, then it's pretty good. It's pretty believable, and the words of affirmation for me, maybe it just means I'm a shallow, weird guy. It actually works. Like I play the piano. I was going to give a piano recital, and Riley called me, was asking what I was doing, and I said, yeah, I'm on my way. I'm going to give this piano recital. Do you have words of affirmation for me? And she was like, yeah, you're going to do great, and you've worked hard on this, and I hung up, and I contrasted that with my piano professor is a very kind, my piano teacher, he's a kind guy, but he says fun things like, that wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be, So Riley, I believed. I was like, oh my goodness, thanks Riley. And
More of the Jarvis kind of chat, more a little sarcastic.
yeah, and the hope would be, eventually you'd be able to tune it. Maybe you like snarky interlocutors, and maybe that's what you want. So maybe you could do it.